What is the persona of a comic creator? What I mean by that, and by the way, this is not going to be the most popular video. I just because this is very much a niche subject. So please, 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 in the comments, you don't need to tell me I'm overthinking it, or I know this is like this is mountain out of a molehill territory. But you'll understand. I've got like a funny story to tell, and I'll wrap like 8 minutes of video around it. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. Hey everybody, this is Perch. You'll see where my mind went there. Yes, this is definitely not a major topic. I think part of the problem, it just dawned on me yesterday, is that for me, most of the videos I put up are kind of rambling, stream of consciousness. They're ideas, and hopefully they're entertaining, give you something to think about. I don't know, but none of this stuff is like. This is the topic you must care about. That's not the kind of videos I do. I think other people have this topic is life changing. This is the comic industry is on the brink, and we're going to tell you why. That's not my that's not what I'm doing. So in many cases, all of my topics are not that serious. But if they're serious to you, then that's all that counts. Anyway, what's the persona of a comic creator? And what I mean by that is when you see interviews right now, a lot of comic creators I don't know about a lot, but there's an increasing amount of kind of two personality types that you get. One is kind of the geek that's owning it, the geek that is I love Dungeons and Dragons, and I love these kind of nerd sports, and I'm quirky and cool, and I've got some weird hair color here or there, and look at my individuality. Even though you look like 5 dozen other people who have the same individuality look going on, you're an individual. The other one, and this is the one that's more funny, and it gets to why I did this video, is the I am heavy metal, and it is I've got a black leather jacket. I listen to heavy metal music, death metal music, and I'm a rocker, and I'm all things rock. Here's why I say it's funny. There's an artist who I'm doing an interview with, and we start the interview. And by the way, I asked at the end, I'm like, you understand, I'm going to have to tell this story. The guy's like, well, just let the interview roll, and then it will be in the background, and people will connect the dots at that point. And I was like, that's a good idea, so we'll do that. So anyway, there's an artist who's coming up in an interview, and we start talking. And the artist is doing currently, like many, like Greg Capullo and some others are doing the I am heavy metal as my personality type, I'm getting ready to jam on some comic pages, so I'm putting on some Disturbed, and I've got some Pantera. I'm going old school with some of the heavy metal, and that's what I'm doing. And it's always kind of funny because some of the bands that get listed off are ones that I've heard of, and I'm like, I'm not sure. I mean, growing up in the late '80s, early '90s, there's a different thing. Like some people are like, man, I like some really extreme movies that are real and raw. I'm like, yeah, when I was in high school, I watched Faces of Death. And people are like, I've never heard of that. It's like, I think that's a little bit more raw than what you're talking about. Not that I enjoyed those movies, but and by and large, I think many of those were fake as well. But sorry, I'm on a tangent Anyway, so as I'm interviewing this author, and they're going like, sometimes when I'm writing pages, like, well, what do you do? Well, how do you get in the mood? It's like I put on some heavy metal and I'm jamming on it, and I hear some music in the background, and I'm like, and finally I'm like, hey, that doesn't. What are you listening to? That sounds like Vampire Weekend, because that does not sound like Pantera. That sounds like Vampire Weekend. And then there's this awkward silence. Guy's like, well, sometimes I like listening to some Vampire Weekend. I'm like, that kind of blows up your whole heavy metal persona, don't you think? I mean, I don't know. You're living hard and raw. You've got your heavy metal. You got your leather jacket. You have your keys on a chain, and there's spikes on that too. And then you're gonna throw on some Vampire Weekend, and you're gonna jam to the. it's just funny, right? I don't know. It's funny to me. I don't know, funny to nobody listening to this video anyway. And I recognized the Vampire Weekend in the background of this thing in the far distance. So, no shade. Vampire Weekend's fine. They're all fine. I mean, well, not all. There's a lot of terrible music out there, but it is what it is. But what is the comic book persona, and does it matter? So here's the kind of crazy part. And our conversation kind of went in this direction after we went off the air for the interview, and it was why is it that anybody should care about the persona? It's like, well, you know, you have to be on Twitter, you have to be selling yourself. It's like, but especially for artists, you're selling yourself through your work, right? You're not selling yourself through the personality type of the creator. It is a bit like if you're picking up a death metal right now, and you have Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, and they're doing things. It's meant to be fun. It's not meant to be taken seriously, but it's meant to be fun. There's kind of all these references to kind of the creative team when they list the credits that they're heavy metal, and it's they do the interviews where like they're very much in the bit. And it's I read that stuff and I'm like, on one hand, this is just kind of fun. It's meant to be kind of a laugh, and it is a laugh. I hope nobody's taking that seriously. I don't think anybody is taking that seriously. If they are taking it seriously, then it quickly goes from fun to weird. But let's assume for the moment that people are just they're having a good laugh, and that's cool. Um, but it I don't know. It also feels a little bit like this is going to age badly. Do you know what I mean? It's like a lot of the hair bands and other things in the 90s, or how grunge developed, or any of these things. There's a moment where they're popular and where they're cool and where they're in, and then there's a moment like 10 years later where you're looking back on some of this stuff and it's just super super cringe. And in many cases, as fast as our society is moving and working, a lot of this stuff gets to the cringe point pretty speedily. It gets there very very fast. And so I don't know. I look at this stuff and it's like, why the emphasis on creating a personality or a persona or an aura around creators who most people are going to judge just for their work? The thing that they're going to look at, the thing that's going to build their persona, their atmosphere one way or another. It's going to be the pencils. It's going to be the story. It's going to be what's done on the page. It's not going to be if this creator is quirky and fun and likes D&D or listens to Slayer. It's a Slayer. That's some heavy metal right there. Slayer. Anyway, so I got this argument with somebody. I don't remember what was going on. We were in this group. This was at some comic event at somewhere. But anyway, over the PA, I don't know, the speakers in the restaurant, they're playing Journey. And one of the people like, oh man, I love it. I love this kind of old metal. And then what started was this long conversation about how Journey was not metal. Journey was rock, and like you're stupid for calling it metal. And then somebody rolls in and is like, they're not like Slayer. They're not metal like Slayer. And I'm like, Slayer? Slayer is not. Anyway, I guess everybody got an opinion. What can you do? Uh, this is a bit of a train wreck conversation, but this is the kind of fun stuff that I like to do on Fridays when if we were all in a comic shop together, we were having drinks, or we were just hanging out and having a casual conversation, this would be the fun stuff that we would talk about, and why not? But anyway, so I don't know. I've heard this more and more from editors and other things, like we need to build up the creator's personality, and I've seen that comment goes on, and then this is one where I don't know. So people ask me from time to time that I should interview Ethan Van Sciver, and I've said this before, but why? He's got his own channel. Like he's on YouTube all the time. What would be the point for him to do an interview? I don't really understand that one. But a question I would ask is this, because people have started to note, well, one of the reasons why we need to build up the creators, one of the reasons why we're doing this bit on death metal of building up the creators, is that you look at Ethan and he like puts on a wig and costumes for some of his live streams, and people love it. So they love that kind of persona. And I guess I have questions. Number one, does Ethan put on wigs and things? I haven't really paid. I mean, I don't know. Is he? I've been pointing to a couple of live streams. He's always just sitting there, kind of in himself. So I guess I've heard about the wig thing. I've just never seen it. Is this a key part of his bit? And if it is a key part of his bit, like nobody is liking him for his wigs. I mean, right? I I have a hard time believing that that's like core to why people are buying Cyberfrog is because he wears a wig. Like, again, please, in the comments, don't tell me I'm overthinking this. I already admit that. Yes, I'm just confused, right? And if you're a big comic publisher and you're like, well, we need to build up the public personas of our creators because of Ethan wears a wig on a live stream to promote Cyberfrog. I mean, just like I can't even make sense of that whole statement. What are you what are you doing? Like I don't I don't know what you're doing. Is that? And I guarantee you, like if I went to Greg Capullo and I'm like, "Are you faking being heavy metal because of Ethan Van Sciver's wig?" I would get punched in the mouth. I mean, I think. Anyway, well, I guess my question. This is a long video to ask one simple question. Do you care what your creators are into for your comics? Does this matter to you? Does it make the comic better somehow if you know that like this writer jams out to who knows, Vampire Weekend, I guess. Does that make you more enamored by buying their comics? I mean, like, who's making a decision based on that? Anyone? Like, and for the creators, I mean, have you ever been told this? And if so, like, what did you like? What do you think of this? Is this insulting? Is it ridiculous? Do you feel like you have to put on a costume to do it? Like, I have so many questions. That's where it comes down to. Hey, anyway, what do you think of all this? Feel free to just say it's all ridiculous because it is. It is ridiculous. I think. I don't know. Hey, like, subscribe. I mean, I guess if you want to. I'm gonna put on some Vampire Weekend. Thanks for listening.